I want to welcome everyone who's watching. This is our Harmony Power broadcast with our special guest, Leo Fong. Now, Leo Fong is known for a lot of things. He's 92 years old and he's a prominent figure in the Asian community. He's known worldwide, not just for his being the best friend of Bruce Lee, but what he's actually brought to the world himself. And I've known him for many years, since 2006. And because of my connection and my training with deep breathing, it's he's helped save my life with not only COVID a year ago, but also with parasitic pneumonia. So I've been completely grateful for that experience. But his early start in his martial arts was because he was bullied and because of this hatred towards Asians, which happened a long time ago. We're talking about, World War II era, and it's now happening where all this residue is coming out. Obviously people are hating for a multitude of reasons, but this attack on the Asian community, that's why I have Leo Fong here. So that's my introduction, Leo. Please tell them a little bit about what happened to you when you were little and what empowered you. And let's begin there, please.
Okay, I arrived in Widener, Arkansas at the age of 6 years old, almost 6 years old, with my mother to join my father, who was running a grocery store in Widener, Arkansas. I didn't realize there was racism, or I didn't know what that was.
Mhm.
So the first day of school, I went there and kids would surround me and sing Ching Chong Chinaman and all that stuff. So I thought they really loved me. And when I went home and told my dad what he said, how was school? And I told him that they loved me because at recess time, they would surround me and sing Ching Chong Chinaman and make all this rhyme about racism. When he got red in the face and he said, they don't like you. And now let me tell you something about that. And he's explained to me about racism. And so when I went back to school that day, and the next day, we were playing softball, and teacher had me to play first base. And they used cow chips for bases because the playing field was in a cow pasture in a country church, a little wooden building. And so when the little kid hit the ball and they threw the ball at me, and I tried to tag him out. And then he looked at me and he said, "Chick,"
Hmm.
and immediately I popped him with my fist
Yeah.
and knocked him, bullet his nose.
Well,
And that was
where do you think this came from? Like, why do you think, as we're talking about what happened to you, but why do you think that child was doing that at that time, like a child who does that today?
in
What
1934.
Mhm.
There was a racial divide.
Mhm.
It was only black and white, and but Mexicans, Chinese, Japanese, and all the other Asians are considered, nobodies. So when they debated whether to,
This behavior, like where is this behavior? Where is this learned behavior of hatred
from from the parents,
from the parents, right? So
yeah,
where are they learning it from?
well, from way back, because you remember they had that Asian Exclusion Act, and it kept a lot of Asians out of this country.
Right. So
And,
parents are teaching this hatred even back
and then
then.
it also came from the hierarchy of society.
And where's the hierarchy coming from? Like, what is this from the government? Is this religion, or is it a combination thereof? What do you think?
Well, I think it's just politics, and it came from ignorance.
Hmm.
They have not realized and learned that everybody have the gifts and graces except differences. when you look different, when you're brownish, yellowish, or whatever color you are, black, immediately that was a signal for them to separate, to say you're inferior
You know,
because
what I can appreciate about you and knowing you, which really separates you as a minister, just for people watching, Leo's done countless martial arts films, countless. Of course, each film has a bullying component. Otherwise, it's not even a martial arts movie. Somebody's getting bullied and they're fighting back, or they're getting, whatever violence they're fighting against that. But being a minister, when you talk to people who are or Christians, right? It's hard for a lot of Christians to state that, their faith is a spoke in the tire. It's like a spoke in a wheel. Yeah, and and I love that about you, because it's like, yes, you follow Jesus Christ, it's your path, but it's not at the expense of everybody else's belief system. It's to have that respect, and if that respect happens with religion, religion controls government, and then you have the respect with everything. So I really believe that there's a lot of truth to this idea. This open-mindedness that you have is what is an example of what people should be trying to connect to. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. But also too, when I first came to the United States and later when I felt the call of ministry,
Mhm.
I realized that racism had already permeated into the religious community, especially the Methodist Church.
Right. Yeah, that was
Because
horrible.
when I graduated and was ordained, they told me, he said, Brother Fong, um, we can't give you a church in Arkansas. I said, why? Because we don't have no Chinese church in Arkansas. I said, Brother Dodgen, I
Hmm.
don't speak Chinese.
That's crazy.
And they said, well, we'll find something for you. And all my life, I run into this racism, discrimination. But you know what? My religious faith is so strong that I take it and turn it into an advantage. They sent me to California to a Chinese church. And the first problem I had was that the guy who was running the church, an old Chinese guy, he'd been there 25 years and he's not even ordained. And I
Mhm.
knew I'm going to have a tough time. I was 24 years old and I'm going to be his boss.
Mhm.
But when he did not, I could not just go against him. He was like a brick wall. God takes care of me. I was driving down the street one day and I saw a sign, Valdez and Londa Dance Studio, and underneath jujitsu lessons.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
backed my car up, ran upstairs, and I met a guy named Bill Luke, and he was teaching dancing as well as jujitsu,
Mhm.
and I was interested in the jujitsu part, and that started me on my martial arts journey. I'd been a boxing champion in college, but I thought this stuff, I wanted something different, and I started training in jujitsu with this guy for about 6 or 8 months until I moved and went to Southern California. And here I was living in Sacramento at the time. But the thing is, racism in the Methodist Church did not disband until about after the Martin Luther King thing. Then they start appointing Asians to
Right.
Caucasian churches.
Yeah. And you needed a movement like that to awaken
Yeah,
people, right? It's like what's happening now. This is my heartfelt belief. This is another movement. Like what we're doing
yes,
today, what you and I are doing right now is part of a movement for change. Like if people are not speaking out, there is no movement. You speaking out, it's a movement. And a lot of the movement right now is online, like we're doing right now on Zoom. So
mhm.
another important question, and of course, your best friend Bruce Lee, and how what he felt when it came to racism, how he felt the way that Asian people were treated. What were his remarks like behind the scenes with you? Like, what would he say about
Well,
what was that conversation like?
he was very upset when he was working on a solid flute.
Mhm.
Went to India and looked for location. Him and James Coburn, and when he came back, he told me, he said, Leo, when I get this thing going, I'm gonna give you a party. And I care less at that time. I knew nothing about making movies. And and all of a sudden, what happened was they sold the script to Afghan embassy and casted David Carradine.
Hmm.
And Bruce Lee was livid. And he took on himself to fight this racism in the entertainment business. You see, you notice now today, there's a lot of blacks in commercials, right?
Mhm.
A few years back, they wouldn't dare to put one in, use them in the commercials, and an Asian in a good role, in a lead role. They
Right.
usually have an Asian play a bad guy or some villain or something like that. And but anyway, Bruce was livid, and he said, "The hell with this." So he said, "I'm going to make my own situation." So what he did was he went to Hong Kong and finally got a 3 picture gig with Golden Harvest, and that's when he did his first one. Way of the Dragon and Fist of Fury and all that stuff. And
You mentioned something a while back that he when he picked the role with Chuck Norris, he purposely wanted somebody that was Caucasian for that role because he
yes,
wanted to show that Asians were powerful too, right? And he was
yeah,
making
exactly. And he got Bob Wall, and
right. Well,
he made them all villains.
he made him all right, just to kind of switch it up. It wasn't he loved. I know that he believed in human equality, and it was a big thing for him. But he felt that these roles had to be switched around to teach the
Yeah,
world something different. And
yeah.
I think that's an aspect that people don't know when they watch these movies. That's what he was thinking.
Well,
And
you
yeah,
remember when he made that guy eat that that this guy, the bad guy, that the faggot guy. He uh, he said,
I don't think we want to use the word faggot, though, right?
"No, I don't want to use the faggot. I mean, it's hard to say that,
Okay.
but that guy, gay guy,
Yeah.
and and then Bruce made him look like that,
Yeah.
and then they attacked him. So he took that thing that six men of Asia,
Hmm.
and he made him eat cram that paper down that guy's throat.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean that
and,
it goes. That's how he felt. He felt very
yeah,
strongly.
oh, yeah,
This hatred towards Asians and this lack of respect had it to stop. And
yeah,
and I know he'd be proud of you as his friend and the way that you've like lived your life, to be all embracing, all loving, and all inclusive in the people that you teach, the way that you live your life, the way that you preach. And that's why it was important for me today to have this connection with you and also people should know that you got the Harmony Power Award years ago from our organization, Harmony Power Foundation.
yeah,
Because of that, you're a living embodiment of what that is. And it's impacted the culture of our country and the culture of the world, the things that you've done. So that's much to be said, and that's what we have to remember when we think about hurting an Asian person. They have contributed so much to our country and the world that why would we attack anyone uh, in that way? And an attack on an Asian person, to me, or any person of color, any human difference, you're attacking me. You're attacking humanity,
What are
and
you doing?
a much bigger picture. So, is there any final thoughts you might have with our segment?
well, the thing is, I feel that we have to every one of us has a voice, have to stand up and speak out,
Yeah.
and then we need to learn as much as we can and have certain convictions that we don't mind expressing,
Mhm.
and then walk in confidence, walk tall. I mean, when people try to call me names and stuff like that, they downgrade me. I will stand up. I'm different now because when I was a kid, my fists did the talking.
Yes.
and I got into trouble. But today, I'm a little more wiser, a little bit older, and I say what I say out of respect for the other person. And when you respect another person, uh, and you don't give an inch to him if he's going to try to be violent or anything like that, I'm ready. But I think we have to respect everybody, even if he discriminate against me and hates me. I still respect him. I said that's your point of view, and once we start doing that, and that gets around, I think eventually, even if you're hardcore, hard shell redneck, so to speak, uh, you know,
Yeah.
that I live with, even then that they're going to have a second thought.
You know,
Yeah, man, yeah,
I learned this by saying this. Even when we judge those who judge, we become them.
yes,
So, that to me is we have to look at ourselves. It boils down to looking at ourselves. Nobody's clean on that level. Everybody makes mistakes. They might say words or slurs, or we're imperfect beings, but we have to become self-aware so that we can be consciously aware and we can connect with humanity in a way that's more beautiful, more profound. And
yes.
so I want to say to you, on those words, it was really great to have this time with you today to share some of those thoughts. It means a lot. And those who are watching, I'm sure it's meaning a lot to them to hear from you, Leo Fong.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so
And
much.
and it was great to have this platform to express our humanity.
Yes.
And when you talk about humanity, you're not talking about whether it's black or brown or green or whatever color. You know, you're talking about brotherhood, sisterhood, and equality. And that's how I feel about it. And I think if we can instill this uh, kind of conviction in our friends who choose to be discriminatory or talk negative about other races, that it might cause them to think. I hope so.
Mhm. That's
But
right.
today's atmosphere is beginning to remind me of the pre Martin Luther King days. Yeah,
Yes. I mean, it's just another resurgence, but it's not that things are getting worse. Things are actually going to get better and better.
yeah,
Just we're evolving at higher states. In order to humanity to evolve, we have to deal with the ugliness of ourselves and each other
yeah,
in order to go a higher place. So, like you said earlier, even on television, people are, Asians and African Americans are getting roles in things that are doing things that never happened 50 years, 100 years ago. So when you look at the big picture, it gets better. So I'm not in the doom and gloom of this. I'm more like, okay, this is happening. This is residue. We still got to work through this. We got to make it better. Asians who are more, very humble and more quiet and reserved have to speak out. And not just the Asians, but everyone.
yeah. Everybody,
Speak
yeah,
out. I feel this
yeah,
way. We are
yeah,
we are all the cultures that we indulge in. My life has been impacted by Asian culture in
yeah,
multiple ways. People like you in my life, right?
yeah,
Japanese culture through my martial arts. My wife is Korean, and yoga, which is Indian, that's Asian too. Like you
yeah,
can't when you are hating a culture, you have to look at yourself. You know what? There's probably aspects of you that are that. We're in America. America is a hybrid of so many different cultures. So
and that's why America is great.
America's amazing.
But
It's
if
amazing. So, but it,
yeah,
but we're here today because we're making it better. So thank you so
yeah.
much, Leo Fong. We love you and really appreciate your time.
Okay, John. All my respect to you
Thank you.
and your wife. You know.
Thank you.
Uh,
And myself to your family as well. Thank you.
okay, okay, John.